Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Big Decisions for Anfield Index. It is Monday, the 16th of June, and let's be honest, people, it was a big week last week, wasn't it? With all that happened with the Wirtz news, Kirkez getting closer than close, the Robbo developments. There was plenty going on. Christ, there was even talk of a new assistant, wasn't there, in the form of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst set to arrive. So we're expecting that as well. We are expecting a lot of things to advance both ways. There is so much going on around this club. And to be honest, maybe this just feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, more than ever. Can anyone remember a feeling like this summer? This almost feels like 5-1. And that's one of the themes we're going to be talking about today, as well as looking at the leadership group, certain players, and we've got to look at Florian Wirtz on big decisions as well. I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from overcast Edinburgh, let's call it that. It's actually quite warm, but there ain't much sun at the moment. It's a washing on the line job, but keep an eye on it type of thing. Fingers crossed, wherever you are in the world, it is looking nicer there. But let's get into it, ladies and gents. What is our first topic on big decisions? Now, this one fascinates me personally. The leadership group and how this is going to unfold this summer. If you think of the champions, and got to remember that the champions are 24-25, it was a set leadership group, wasn't it? Virgil at the top of it all, but you could name the runners and riders. It was pretty straightforward, obvious. There was no debates. Now there is. And I'm going to take you back about 6 or 7 months ago. Who would have thought this would unfold? But do you remember Liverpool did a couple of those round table pods? And they were fascinating, weren't they? Where there was Salah, Alisson and Robbo. They did one together for about half an hour, just talking about their time at the club, the memories. And it's funny when you think back to this one. A lot of the focus of this, if you think of the 3 players that are in front of us there, people were saying, well, there's a few question marks around Alisson and the Saudi interest. And obviously Mo Salah hadn't signed a new contract at the side. So that was the biggest worry. But Robbo staying. Fast forward to today. Crazy, isn't it? How that was a thought process 7 months ago. Alisson pretty much confirmed Salah new contract. And then this was the story from this week, wasn't it? When that dropped on Friday. And from all your reliable outlets like Ornstein, Joyce, that Atletico Madrid are weighing up a move for Andy Robbo. They're in talks, aren't they? It's pretty clear. So that developed really quickly. That was a bit of a surprise. No one saw that, if they're honest. Anyone who says different is lying, by the way, 7 months ago. And then there's the other second part of that, where 3 others were at the round table in the form of, on the screen there, Diogo Jota, Ibrahima Konate, and Alexis McAllister. And there was discussion there, because that was about 4 months ago, so 3 months after that first one. Is this now the secondary leadership group, if you want to call it that? The next ones being groomed or expected to be promoted, if you want to say that, if a position opened up. Now, things have opened up because there's a vice captaincy position, isn't there? So now who's going to fill that? Now, for me, and everyone can see this differently, and feel free to throw your comments or thoughts in the chat panel. I actually think this is straightforward. An elite leader and an elite deputy. Van Dijk obviously stays as captain. Mo Salah gets that promotion for me, hands down. I actually personally don't think there's a question mark about that. Mo Salah's committed his future, like Virgil van Dijk, for the next 2 years of that peak talent to Liverpool. Those are the two that, to almost use that Jurgen Klopp phrase, are going to be pushing the train down the track. They are going to be demanding that everyone squeezes every last drop out of that talent. They will just be focused, especially Mo, on records and trophies. That's what it will be about for those two. They are the perfect combination. And that's why, for me, it is an absolute no-brainer. And people already started to debate it, which is great in the chat panel. That Van Dijk stays captain, but Mo gets the promotion. That, for me, is just an absolute no-brainer. But the question is now, who takes the two positions from the leadership group? And it is right to say two positions because the vice captain has departed, but also it looks like another member of the leadership group is set to depart. I think we'd all be surprised, if we're honest now, if Robbo is at the club come the start of next season. All the noises are he's happy to go. And I get it. Liverpool legend, year left to go on his contract. Atletico Madrid, who are a big club, a chance to go and, see out his career, if you want to call him that, in Spain. They'd probably give him, a 3-4 year contract. So there's two positions there open. And it's funny, isn't it, if I look on the chat panel there, Benicio saying McAllister and CK Nyarko saying McAllister as deputy will be better. So then you get into the realms of who comes into the leadership group, who's got a case. Now, Ibu was there, wasn't he, at that round table with I suppose you call them the deputies, the secondary group. So he's got to come into the mix. He's got to come into the thinking, of course he has. Captain France recently. But here's the other side to it. Can you promote Ibu into that leadership group if he doesn't sign a new contract? Can you give a player who's got 12 months left to go? And you'll have heard them as well as I, and we'll get into it a bit more. All the chat around Real Madrid, PSG and all that. Can you give Ibu a place in the leadership team if you know he's going? Personally, I don't think you can. People will disagree, and maybe people will say, oh, not vice captain, of course, but a place in the leadership group, he's still one of the leaders. I don't think you can if he doesn't sign, just personal opinion. I think that creates too much of an issue for me, personally. The next candidate, and this is the popular one, without doubt, Alexis McAllister. Now, funnily enough, wasn't Brighton captain, not a captain in the Argentinian side either at all. And obviously Messi, I know people will shout at this separately, but you totally get this, don't you? The best midfielder in the Premier League for me, bar none. A World Cup winner. If you talk about attitude as well, we have seen him in his short time at Liverpool so far, as well as winning the Premier League, play the 6, play the 8, play the 10, do whatever's needed for the team, as well as, just to repeat it again, being the best midfielder in the Premier League. For me, absolutely has to go in to the leadership group. One of the slots, no doubt. So that's one taken. People will see it differently. So then you come to the second slot and you start to look through the squad a little bit, don't you, and think, who's a leader? Now, I'm not for this at all, but remember, on that round table discussion of the secondary leadership group, as it seemed, was Diogo Jota, who, before anyone dismisses this, has had, you forget this, he's had the captain's armband at times for Liverpool. He's got 2 years left on his deal. He's 28 years old, so he's a senior pro. You would say that as well. But for me, he's not a starter. He's not going to be a starter anymore. I think we're pretty certain on that. I just don't see it. Injured a lot as well. And I know maybe that doesn't come into the mix, but I just can't make the case for Diogo Jota to come into the mix. The others, and a few have mentioned it there in the chat panel, Cody Gakpo, who has been a captain for PSV. who has also, on occasion, and I forgot this until I sort of dug into it a little bit, has held the captain's armband on occasions for Holland. But again, is he a starter? Is he the one you'd want to bring into the leadership group? That's a debate, isn't it? And then the other one who's popular in the chat panel, and maybe I'm leaning towards this, Dominik Szoboszlai, captain of Hungary. The mix on this side with Szoboszlai, and I've seen a few say this, is, well, with Wirtz coming, he's going to drop out. But I don't see it that way. And it's probably not the time to talk about it. Just I do think he will play for Liverpool next season. He has got leadership experience for his country as well. So if you're asking me right now, the two that come into the leadership group are two of Jurgen Klopp's signings, as in Alexis McAllister and Dominik Szoboszlai. And people won't agree with this one either, but I'm not for this, but don't ignore Curtis Jones as a possible. Scouser, interviews well, gets it, works hard. People have been saying, and there's a few candidates, isn't there, for this? I'm certain on one. With Robbo, a number 60-60 departing, it's Salah going into the vice-captaincy role, without doubt for me. But who comes into the two leadership roles? If Arne Slot keeps the same pool, the same panel, for me, Alexis McAllister, no-brainer, has to be in there. And I'm saying Szoboszlai, but I'm not saying it with a certainty at all. I'm not sure how important it is. Maybe everyone sees it differently. But Curtis has got a case. Endo, I'm not convinced will be at the club. But when you scroll through, I mean, people will even argue, and I know he's injured a lot, but look at the tenure Joe Gomez has got at the same time. I am just not certain of who the second one is. But there you go for me. That is my big decision. Mo Salah, without doubt, into that vice-captain role. Alexis McAllister, without doubt, into the leadership. Dominik Szoboszlai, not said with great confidence for me, into the leadership group as well. And if you say Alisson, well, Alisson's already in the leadership panel, as we know. So that would make it Van Dijk captain, Mo Salah deputy, Alisson in there with McAllister and Dominik Szoboszlai. That would be the leadership group, which if you look at the panel, it's got a lot of everything. It's got a lot of ages, different positions, different experiences. You will all have your thoughts on that one. We'll see what develops with this leadership team. But the most exciting bit, whatever happens this summer, goes back to Friday the 13th, which is a bad omen for a lot of people, but one of the best days of the window, wasn't it? Because we got the dopamine hit. Fabrizio maybe or maybe didn't go a little bit early, but Ornstein Joyce, your big hitters, told us that Liverpool have got, as it says there on the screen, the verbal agreement with Bayer Leverkusen to sign Florian Wirtz. And the briefings from patch journos and the UK journos across the board were the same. 100 million guaranteed. 16 million in bonuses. Some, which could even involve a Champions League, could involve things like a Ballon d'Or being involved, but £116 million package potentially, and Florian Wirtz is coming to Liverpool. And since then, it's been exciting, isn't it? Because if you look at all the articles the journos have released, it's all like Louis Steele about his background, where he's come from. And brilliant to read, don't get me wrong, and hear about how we've beaten off Bayern, beaten off City. Real Madrid made a late inquiry that Florian Wirtz has picked us. And it's going to go again, because all the reports are that he's set to do a medical. He's going to end his holiday this week. And that means you think we'll get the photos of him landing. So your Biebers, your Adam Pease, get on standby. The interviews, the accent, we're going to get that hit again, fresh into the soul. It's going to be beautiful. But actually, the consideration for me right now is where's he going to play? Where are we going to get the best out of Florian Wirtz? And that's what it's all about. Because you're not going to pay potentially 160 million quid and not make him absolutely key to Liverpool. For me, everything you fancy is largely going to go through him. And I know people will jump on this and say, whoa, Mo Salah. And I think that will be true. But if you look at Liverpool last season, there's that saying, in a team of 11, there's 8 to carry the piano and 3 to play it. And we know who the 3 were to play it. Ultimately, it was about last season, get the ball to Mo. That was the key tactic. It's not never that simple, but there's nothing wrong with putting it in that bracket. This season, you fancy, it's going to be get it to Salah or Wirtz. But a lot might go through Florian Wirtz. Of course it will, because he's an elite talent and that's exciting. But the question on big decisions, where do you play him? Where do you get the best out of Florian Wirtz? How do you, maybe even more than the 16 goals and 15 for 15, 31 goal contributions in all competitions? Or if you talk about the big 2, as in when you play in the Bundesliga and Champions League, how do you get 16 goals, 13 assists, 29 goal contributions and more out of Florian Wirtz? Where do you play him so Salah flourishes even more? Where do you play him so it's a title-winning team again? This is the big debate. And people, and I've seen it, I bet you have, I've seen ventured forward the 10, the attacking midfielder role in the formation it is now. And funnily enough, that's what a lot of the media briefings have been, a lot of the patch journos have said, that's come into the mix, the 10, if you want to call it that. I've seen left wing, let him, and I have to be careful. Oh, no, I don't have to be careful. I think people listening should be careful. That's not a threat, by the way. But when I say left wing, people think, oh, we don't play left wing. He's not going to get the back. I'm not saying he's going to hit the byline, not that type of left wing, but almost a Coutinho type who starts on the left but drifts in. And then the third one is the false 9. That's been ventured as well, hasn't it? And it's funny, I'm looking here, Stig there saying Wirtz can play the piano, carry the piano, then play it afterwards. So a 10. Yeah, that comes into the mix. Depends on the striker he wants, says the real Cal Jones. There's so much. For me, it is absolutely fascinating where he's going to play. And this will never be settled today, and they'll debate in the chat panel, which I don't mind as well. But if you go back a little to Leverkusen and where he's played their system, now under Xavi, completely different from Arne Slot, I get that. But Leverkusen have played for the last few years with changing personnel, Schick more this year than Boniface, but a 3-4-2-1. Frimpong being one of the wing backs in that scenario. So Wirtz was often, and it depends on your definition. I think it's semantics a little bit at times. In that 2 behind the front man, Schick this season, often from the left side, starting there and picks it up in those pockets. And speaking to Bundesliga correspondents, they say the same, but obviously influencing the game in the middle. Now, for me, ultimately, you want to give him as much freedom as possible. Yeah? If he's going to be the lightning rod, the conductor, I don't want him chained, shall we say, to a position. But obviously, he's got to fit into a team at the same time. So I don't almost have, and I don't believe analysts and other people have got a perfect answer to this. And I'm going to explain why. And I'm going to call out 2 brilliant pieces if you've not seen them, by the way. I think in the great way at the moment, Liverpool content, the best it's ever been across the board. And in that saying, in a high tide, all boats rise. Honestly, we are just blessed as fans with the fan content. And shout out to Josh Williams on this and the rap, who did a little bit of how he sees Florian Wirtz as a false 9 and talked about the box 4 and the importance of that. And please, isn't me trying to minimize it. I would suggest you sort of watch it, listen to it, however devour there. But this is a brilliant piece, I would say. The second one, and he's a big-headed git, so he annoys me at times, but he is Bob on the money, this. Sam Maguire did one for his Patron, which talks about a few different bits, how Wirtz could fit in. And again, a similarity given the freedom. But almost the way Sam did it, talked about Florian Wirtz almost starting from the left and coming in a la Coutinho with Kirkes bombing on. They're both brilliant pieces, and they're brilliant analysts in different ways, Josh and Sam, the way they break it down. So I would honestly recommend looking, watching, however you devour your medium that way. I'm going to just basically steal and amend a little bit, because nothing wrong with that. It's all just opinions, in it. I don't think either is wrong or right. I actually think you will see a bit of both. I love the idea of Florian Wirtz starting on the left, cutting in. I love the idea there of Kirkes just Roadrunner bombing on as well. Love that. Don't mind the idea of him as a false nine. I don't. My only worry is there, and you see it on almost this diagram, which is a bit limited. Gakpo he's not, we say winger, he's not a hit the byline very often. He's a cut in the shot. You know what Gakpo does. It's almost like the other side of Robin, Novocaine, just time and time again, the same thing works. So I don't mind the idea of Wirtz in that way. What I also love the idea of is that I was throw the blanket, and you would change them a bit, but Mac, Grav, Szoboszlai and Wirtz being that box four, and away at somewhere like Manchester City, where you've got to win that midfield battle. A bit like last season. Yes, I appreciate it was almost Diaz and Szoboszlai playing as almost two false nines at times, gave us that. And Curtis Jones at times as well in the way it's constructed. But anyway, the box four idea, I love that control element as well. But then there's a challenge on both sides, because there ain't always a perfect answer. If Wirtz is your false nine, dropping deep a little bit, and I know people will start saying it if you were like, you need someone a nine to put the ball in the net, someone to mop up those chances. I'm not sure I see it that way, but I understand the point being made. I also wonder if Wirtz is a false nine. You think of someone like Jota, the off-the-ball demands, and I'm not saying Wirtz can't do this, by the way, but the off-the-ball demands of the pressing like Jota does, and what Liverpool tried to get Núñez to do for a long time, I just think it throws up a lot of questions, as in, is that getting the best out of Florian Wirtz? I don't know on that. Okay. Now, if it is a 10, as people talked about, and I've seen even a few say, oh, no, 10, Szoboszlai will have to drop out. I don't think that happens at all. I think Arne Slot will have Dominic Szoboszlai in the team as an 8. I don't think for 1 second you want to give up Szoboszlai's running power. I don't think for 1 second you want to give up Szoboszlai's ability to cover, especially when Mo Salah is going to be in the team. And this isn't to be derogatory, because he's my favourite player. I think he's the best player in the league and he should win the Ballon d'Or. But we know we don't give Salah many defensive responsibilities either, with we. So on the right, Szoboszlai is absolutely crucial for me in this. And I think maybe Vinicio is about to come to my summaries. He's put there, football intelligence is the key. Good management players solve problems on the pitch by identifying weaknesses in the opposition. Systems do need to be fluid. Absolutely. I don't think you will see Florian, personally, an analyst better than me have looked at this, that Florian Wirtz will just play in one position this season. I think you'll see games where he does start on the left and drift in, a la Coutinho, as Sam alluded to, with the likes of Kirkes bombing on. I do think it's very possible that something like a City away, you could see him as a false nine. dropping in to create that box four, which he can do anyway a little bit, even if he starts on the left side and drifts in. But I think that it would not surprise me at times at all if there's games where we have to break down a low block, if he is a 10 as well. I personally am excited to see him in all these positions. I mean, we've talked about this before on Anfield Index. It's just elite across the board. Whether you look at him as a forward, whether you look at him as an attacking midfielder from the left side. I'm excited. But what I would just say on this for people who are thinking, and I don't watch the Bundesliga week in, week out. That was my starting point. So I did a bit of digging, I did a bit of reading, spoke to a few of the Bundesliga correspondents that we know at Anfield Index as well, WAP's footage as well, to try and piece it together. Read and listened to the articles of people far more clued than me on the tactical output. But one of the big things I sort of came to was, for me, there's a bit of a lazy analysis just going, he's a 10. I think there's a lot more to Florian Wirtz's game than that. And genuinely honest, people, my honest big decision is this: to get the best out of Florian Wirtz, you put pace, work rate, and creativity around him. You don't give him a completely free role because obviously everything fits within a team structure, but you do what you can to get the most out of him. And that might be playing 3 different positions in different games this season. 8 to carry the piano, 3 to play it. Fuck me, we just got the German Mozart in our ranks. So I am so excited about this one. And the final big decision for this week, ladies and gents, the 3. Ibu Konate. What confidence have we got right now that Ibu Konate is going to stay, that Liverpool will use him this season, that he won't be sold, where he will go? I have not got that much personally. I'm hoping. I do think it's important, ultimately, cards on the table up front, that Ibu Konate stays with Liverpool. And the main reason I keep coming back to, and I know one must say jumping to the conclusion before we talk about this, we've just won the league with pretty much an established back 5. You could name them Arne Slot's first choice back 5, couldn't you? Or call it a back 4 if you want to take out Alisson because he's staying. But of that back 4, does anyone think it's a good idea for a title-winning back 4 to replace 3 of those? And do you believe, honestly, that if you replace 3 of those, that the rhythm will stay? I don't think it's that straightforward, especially in the way Arne Slot works and the time it maybe just takes to get into that. But if it is Kerkez on the left, Bradley now to be the starter, or Frimpong on the right, and you then wanted to change a centre half for Virgil van Dijk as well. For me, I don't like that at all. But that doesn't mean ultimately that Ibu Konate stays, doesn't he? And I'm sure you saw the stories that came out from the Spanish end last night, as per Marca, wasn't it? Real Madrid are working on another one of their free transfers because Florentino Perez has got that kink, hasn't he? And the summer coming, Ibu Konate is currently the favourite. Now, we mentioned this on the transfer show for weeks on end, and we didn't get good feedback on it. But what about getting good feedback? It was just telling you, as we always do, what we've heard, that PSG have been in his ear. I don't know if there's any exclusive on that by any means. A few journalists have said it. Real Madrid are clearly in his ear. Now, what has Ibu Konate said about this? Just to go back a few weeks ago or so, because he said this in the press zone, he said it in interviews as well. So a few have run with these words, it's important to say. But if we go back just around that title win at Spurs when we won it, he said, "My agent met the club last week, but I don't know what will happen. I cannot say what my agent said to me, but yeah, we will see what happens. I just want to say one thing. Everything you saw on social media is completely fake. I didn't even ask for something from the club. They made me an offer and I replied to them with something. Nice if you just told us what that something was, eh? The rest that I want to wait to the end of the contract, all of it is completely fake. So they're saying it's fake, or his words that, that I want to wait to the end of the contract is all fake. So he's telling us that any assumption that I want to wait and go on a free is fake. Okay. But then you hope he signs a new deal and this alleviates all those concerns. Of course it does. But if he doesn't, it seems PSG and Real are in the mix. But PSG, as per the report on the screen there, look like they're about to do a deal for Zabayani for Bournemouth, don't they? Which then means that they're not in the mix straight away for an urgent need, are they, for a centre-half? Because they've got Pacho. He's done so well as there. Yes, there's questions about Marquinhos, but it seems Zabayani fulfills that need, which then also means if they are going to come into the mix for him this summer, how much do you think they're really going to offer us? Because I can't see a scenario where they're going to give us the money we would want or truly value Ibo at. So then you're almost in the lowball situation, aren't you? Of what offer, and then do they accept it? Does that make us look weak? And then also, then this argument holds weight. If PSG only put, and it's theorising, isn't it? Say 30 million quid, something like that on the table. Is that worth taking? Is that worth taking? Or actually, is there an educated decision where you think, sod it, if we keep Ibu and let him go on a free, it's our best chance to win Premier League, Champions League. I don't know. That is a possibility. And people, when I say free, will go, you can't do... And I understand this argument. You can't do it because of what's happened with this summer and the players. Liverpool have got to get out of that method of, just running it. I understand that. But every situation is different. And I do just wonder if he won't sign a new deal and they can only get something like 30 million or so. Because I know what he's worth, but no one's going to play that full worth. They'd be foolish to, wouldn't they, in this situation? And obviously Real Madrid are in his ear at the same time. Would you let him go on a free with the big prizes? It's interesting there. K-Mac says, keep at all costs. And that's one of the big debates, isn't it, around Ibu? To give him whatever, we mean all costs, give him whatever he wants on the wages. All costs, and you've got to keep him this season, even if it means going on a free. I just am struggling with this at the moment. And also, it comes back to this a little bit as well. Ibu talked about leadership, and that's something he talked about while on French duty or his media duties. He said, this shows the coach trusts me. I am a leader and the coach trusts me to answer all your questions, even the most ambiguous. I'm glad to be in front of you. Now, we know how big the French team is to Ibu. We know he would love to be, and he's angling to be, potentially, if not the captain, part of that leadership team for France. But can Liverpool play this right? Can Liverpool maybe wangle it into the contract, the leadership group that I mentioned it earlier? Can Liverpool say you can achieve your dreams? Has the head been turned already too much? If Liverpool do sign another centre-half, which I think everyone thinks they need, if you think the likes of Diomande has been linked recently from Sporting Lisbon, and people will laugh at this one, but I tell you what, never mock the great Indy Callier, who said, we've contacted Spurs over Romero. Is there elements where, I'm not saying threaten Ibu, don't get me wrong, but tell you what, if you don't sign a new deal, Ibu, you might have an idea of a free transfer, but we will get other options and you can sit on the bench. And then that just damages that dreaming his thoughts. That there's different ways of playing this, is what I'm saying in this regard. But as it stands right this second, we'll go back to the original question I asked you at the start, ladies and gents, for your big decision. Are you confident we keep Ibu? What are you prepared to do or agree to for him to stay at Liverpool this season? Because I honestly think, I despise the idea, I mean that, I'm not saying that lightly, of we've just won the title and changing 3 out the back 4. I don't think that lends itself to building on that success, and maybe adding big ears to number 21. Yeah. What would you dangle in front of Ibu? It's funny, people saying leadership group, vice captain, whatever he wants. And then on the other side, can you just give him what he wants? When I come to the end of this, ladies and gents, my job on that one was to lay it all out on the table. But in simple terms for Ibu, Christ, I want him to stay. But there's a lot to work through on this. And I don't say he's staying with any confidence. If you're going to nail me to the wall on this, if he won't agree a new deal, for me personally, keep him anyway. I don't like the idea of changing 3 of the back 4. I do think if we're going to win potentially big ears, 21, I keep him anyway. And I get some of you will say sell him, and I totally understand that. There's not a perfect scenario, but it does feel like a big decision that Liverpool have got to make, and they've got to make very, very quickly around Ibrahima Konate. But there we go, ladies and gents. Leadership group. Salah vice captain for me. Who are the 2 that come in? I made my call. What was yours? Florian Wirtz. Give him the ball. Get pace, work rate, creativity around him. Just let the boy do damage. Honestly, it's going to be so good next season. I'm nearly salivating. The other side, Ibrahima Konate. Sell, renew, keep. We know what we want to happen. We know what we're worried about happening. We don't know what exactly will definitively happen. But Liverpool need to sort it quickly. There we go, ladies and gents. 3 big decisions for you to make. But on Monday, the 16th of June, where we hope the transfer window's open and bigger news will follow, that was a big decisions for Anfield Index.